Now, does this change?
Yeah, but there's usually like a 20-second delay.
Okay. Why did that music? Why was there a buffer?
Okay.
If you have no microphone, why does that buffer like that?
Okay, so we're looking good. Okay.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Yes.
We're going to let. Hey, Maddie, good seeing you. We're going to let the police commissioners in.
Tell them to unmute themselves if they wish to.
Commissioner Roach, if you want to turn off your mute.
Advise them that we're alive.
You got me?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And we are live on Facebook. I'm sorry, YouTube. If anybody needs me, I'm going to be off video and on mute. But if you need something, just ask for me and I'll pop up.
Hi, Dan.
Maddie, how are you?
Good. I'm still alive. Maybe after today, not so much.
It's all right. It's an accomplishment. You kidding me?
Yeah, that's for sure.
You've been able to get up to our island much this summer, or since the weather's been warm?
Voice. Are we on live, Dan?
Yes, Matty.
We're live now?
Yes, no, we're on live. Believe we have 3 commissioners. It's 5:57. We're going to give a couple of minutes anyway. I'm sure we'll have a fourth soon, and talk to both Tom Lyons, Hector, and Valerie. Had a chance to speak to all 3 of them earlier, and they said they'd all be on the call. Commissioner Cruz, how are you? You're going to need to unmute when you're ready to speak. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Good
Very
evening,
Hi.
everyone. Hi, how are you?
Okay.
We're probably going to be asking the commissioners to remain muted until they're ready to speak anyway. We'll see how that goes. I've been on a few of these calls where there's all sorts of noises in the background, whether it's kids or dogs. I have a couple of dogs. I'm guilty of it too.
No, I have one.
The TVs and whatnot, people talking, but we should be okay.
We haven't started yet.
No, we haven't. We're
Let me ask you a question.
actually,
All these installations of parking signs, they be all done in one shot?
Commissioner Kuminati,
Hi, how are you?
good. Even though you're on video, I can't see you at all
I
because
can
it's so
see you.
dark. I think it's the window lighting that causes that. I have that too here. I can see you a little bit now. You raised your head. There you go. And someone heard me say something. Assistant Chief, how are you?
How are you? I'm well. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hello. We have Brad Seeley. How are you? And Adam
Hi
Rose.
guys. Hey everyone.
Oh,
Hey Manny.
Hey, here's the chief.
Charlie,
Gonna
how are
get
you?
lost.
Good.
I'm gonna mute myself for now.
Do that again. Do whatever you just did. Okay. There's the mute, so you can mute yourself.
What you should talk to me.
Hmm?
You talk to me.
You have to keep those up there. Okay. Yeah. Mhm. Okay.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Yep.
Yes, Commissioner.
I have Tom Lyons on the phone. He's having trouble connecting. Is there one of the sergeants he might be able to reach out to help him, or?
Sure, we can have Sergeant Carly or Rosem reach out to Commissioner Lyons.
Okay. Hey, Tom. Yeah. I'll pass your number along to one of the sergeants. Okay. Okay.
Commissioner, I have,
Yes.
I have the list of police commissioners. I just don't know. Oh, I see it. Okay. It's the
I'm
4-1. Okay. All right. I'll call him now.
Okay. Very good. He's waiting for you.
Where it says mute, that's when you can use it, so that you doesn't have to unmute.
I don't know what you're saying.
Commissioner Quarles, how are you?
Hey, how are you, Commissioner
Hey.
Cruz? How are you? How you doing?
Good, how are you? Long time no see.
Good.
You look different, you look good.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, so before I didn't look good. That's a good.
You
I
look
thought you guys were
different and
talking
you look
about me.
really good. How's that?
You just missed me. You missed me. That's all. You
I
just
do, I miss you, I miss you.
I thought you guys were talking about me.
Hey, hi, Commissioner Kumanala. How you doing?
Yeah, Doc, how are you?
Good.
I was just showing my wife who you were.
Oh.
If it's green, it means it's on.
Hmm.
Lieutenant, I believe we have a quorum. I'm going to give Tom Lyons a few more minutes. I know he's been trying to call in, so assuming
Oh, here
that
tonight or just the four of us?
assuming that'll be successful, we can get started.
I am ready when you are, sir.
Excuse me, Lieutenant.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sergeant.
Yeah.
Tom is in the meeting now, and we're just trying to figure out who Logan Rice is. Do we know who that is?
I have no knowledge of that individual.
Okay. Then we're not gonna admit them.
Okay, then we're not going to admit them at this time.
That's to raise your hand. Which K6 coming?
Hi, Commissioner Tom.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good.
Good.
There you go.
Are we all in a meeting?
I
Yep.
think so.
Commissioner Diaz and Commissioner Farrow. I did speak with Commissioner Diaz earlier today. He said he'd be calling in from work, so he may not be that prompt. But Commissioner Farrow, have you heard from him, Lieutenant?
Yes, I have, and he did indicate that he would be joining us.
Okay, all right. We have a total of 5, so it is now 6:06. I am going to call this regular board meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners, Tuesday, June 6th, to order. Roll call of commissioners.
Lions,
Quarles.
Maybe I'll ask. Maddie Cuminato, are you here?
Here,
Okay, Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Cruz, are you still with us?
Commissioner Cruz is here.
Okay, as I noted, Commissioner Diaz and Commissioner Farrell have yet to join us. But for the record, we do have a quorum. This is a little bit new to us. We haven't held a meeting in the last couple of months, and I know standard procedure, we would have the Pledge of Allegiance. I know Commissioner Diaz had mentioned he would like for us to go forward with that, but I think we can do that sitting down, so we can remain seated. Commissioner Lyons, would you care to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? If
I pledge
everybody's in
allegiance to the flag
flag of the United States of America,
to the
And
republic,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty, and
liberty,
justice
and justice for all.
for all.
Okay, thank you. You were able to pull that off. At this time, like to observe a moment of silence. We have three retired officers who have passed since our last meeting. Officer Chester Zukowski, who passed away on May 10th. Officer Michael Radozicki, who passed away on May 5th. And also retired officer Thomas Jordan, who passed away on April 10th. If we can just have a moment of silence for those officers. Thank you. May they rest in peace. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes on the special board meeting, which was held on March 3rd. Unless there's any questions, entertain a motion to approve.
no move.
Second.
There's a motion to be made and second to accept. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion is to accept has passed. Also, item 2F, acceptance of the minutes of the special board meeting, which was held on March 10th. I'd entertain a motion. There been a motion to accept?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, that motion has also passed. On to reports. 3A, report from the Chief of Police. Chief Perez, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's been some trying times. And the COVID virus and the current events in our country, very, very tough. But you have a good police department. You have a police department that is dedicated with a lot of tolerance, a lot of respect for what goes on. And we all know that everybody's hurting. So we're doing our best. I want to start by giving you a quick report on the crime in the city.
The volume
Crime in the city
go up.
is down. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you speak up a little louder? I don't know, the volume seems to be really low.
I'm sorry. All right, can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to start by giving you a quick report on crime in the city. Crime in the city it's down for the most part. Shots fires are up, however. We have taken a lot of weapons off the streets in the last 3 months. We had a huge seizure of drugs, $40,000 in cash, and some PCP a couple of weeks back. And that seemed to have quieted down the area near, I want to say, oh my goodness, Pearl Street, Pearl and Noble. That's where that took place. We had a chance to meet with Reverend Carl McClusker, who invited us up to the Connecticut State Police Barracks. James Robella, the state commissioner, was there. And I went up there with the assistant chief, Rebecca Garcia. There were a lot of different groups that were present. Bridgeport Generation Now was there. Kali, I think, I don't want to kill her last name, Harrelman was there. Cass Shaw was there. There were representatives from Hartford, New Haven, Waterbury, and Milford. These are all the chiefs that were there, as well as community people and commissioners from Hartford, New Haven, and Milford, and somebody from Waterbury was also there. The meeting was, I thought the meeting was productive to us. We managed to accomplish a couple of things. One of the things that was accomplished there was our policies online. This came from Generation Now. They wanted to see our policies online. We talked a little bit, and now Lieutenant Cotto was able to provide, and I'll let him speak if you want to hear it, on how he's doing it. And so far, it's been taken very, very well. We also have, and this came out today, a 90-day moratorium on surplus equipment. I mean, it's trucks. Some departments will, we're getting firearms. We never had taken any firearms, but we had a couple of trucks that we use as rescue vehicles, and that's what they're for, to rescue people because of the high clearance. They can go in the water, they can go through the snow, they can go through rough, terrain. So I thought the meeting was very, very positive. Carl McCluster, I can't thank him enough. He did a great, great, great job. I wanted to talk a little bit about the council, the city council, and the Ramsey report. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a presentation to the complete city council on those two issues. Assistant Chief Garcia has worked very, very hard on many days, and she's got a heck of a report that we're going to be putting forth for the commission, for the city council reps. Body cams. As you guys know that we have body cams, that we have all uniform services except SROs. And the only reason why SROs don't have it is because they are, they deal with the kids in school. I mean, we can't have that. Oh, you're back, good. I was gonna have the assistant chief do this part. You wanna do this part here on the city council?
Sure.
Because it's your report. She did a great job.
Thank you, boss. So, so we wanted to talk a little bit about the concerns, obviously that everybody has, considering the what's going on throughout our nation and some of the reforms that are being looked into. And I wanted just to remind you and bring to light some of the points that we're talking about and some of the things that are important topics of discussion. One of them being the banning of the chokeholds, right? So we know that that is a very important topic. So I just wanted to bring forth that we already have that in our policy. I will tell you that we currently have put our policies, or some of our policies, online. We're looking to continue putting them on the Bridgeport website. And we have a new draft policy regarding the use of force. Our use of force policy is, it mirrors the Connecticut General Statutes, and it also mirrors the post mandates, which are our accreditation body. So I just wanted to let you know that that policy was actually reviewed and approved by the Board of Police Commissioners, the Honorable Board of Commissioners, and we're also coming forth with a draft just for some added verbiage. As I said, for transparency purposes, we have already begun putting some of the Bridgeport Police Department's policies online. There is going to be a page, an area where you can put in your questions, possible comments that will be taken into consideration for draft policies. Again, for transparency purposes. In regards to training, we have been very up to par with training. And some of our training that we have actually implemented about in 2018 was de-escalation And the de-escalation piece was trained by an outside person who's actually world renowned. And he came in and he trained 91% of our police department. We now have one of our own officers that's trained in de-escalation, and she's been offering that class at the academy as well for in-service and the recruit level. We know that one of the areas of concern is officer wellness. Well, I will tell you that the Bridgeport Police Department was the first academy in the state of Connecticut to implement an officer wellness program for our last class, for the last class 41 that graduated in December. It's a 6-week course, 2 hours a week. And it just, like I said, for officers' wellness, mind, body, and spirit, right? We know that if you have an officer that is well-rounded and is okay, then he or she will be okay with the community we serve. So we also teach classes like police in the public. We've done different events with the community. I know that the chief and Lieutenant Cotto have gone out and celebrated Ramadan with the parties at the Park and State Street location. I as well have been there while in the training academy, and obviously learning about different cultures, the diversity between cultures. We've had people come into the training academy during my interim there, just presenting different cultures, different beliefs, so that we can all be a better rounded police department. Obviously, our goal is to continue to move forward in policing, continue to sharpen our tools, our resources to get to know the community even better, and obviously to come in line and continue moving forward with the proposed changes, be it by post, be it by CPCA. We're all members of the Connecticut Police Association. And like I said, an agreement with Connecticut Post Standards, and which is the body that allows us for accreditation. Our training academy, we are allowed to have a training academy per post, and they're pretty much our governing body. They give us the authority to have a Saturday academy where we are able to train not only our officers, but officers from other departments, and have recruit classes, which are not only Bridgeport PD officers, but officers that are going into other towns, Stratford, Newtown, New Milford, etc. And once again, like I said, our use of force does mirror the Connecticut general statutes as well. Anybody has any questions?
Any questions for the assistant chief or the chief?
No, I just wanted to piggyback on what Assistant Chief Garcia said, that many of you know that I'm part of the policy committee, and what she has referenced is part of the policy 3.01 that's still in draft form. And so there are certain sections where those mandates have already been incorporated into the policy, but it's still in draft form. For example, under procedures where it begins with officers shall use advisements, warnings, verbal persuasion, and verbal instructions when possible before resorting to force. And then it continues in another page about non-deadly force restrictions. The intentional use of chokeholds is what most people are concerned about based on what has happened. But they will use other methods of restraint that are applied to the neck area of another person, which is prohibited. So I think that what has been brought to my attention is that even though whatever the executive order that Lamont has already put out for state troopers is also going to be incorporated, throughout the nation in police departments and in their policy. And we don't want to, we want to be able to know that the intent is not to kill, but the chokehold was already incorporated into this policy. And so you know, it includes, but it's not limited to, for example, arm bar hold, carotid artery hold, you know, internal vascular neck restraint. All those things are broken down in the policy so that they will be implemented and they know to avoid doing that. So as you mentioned, Assistant Chief Garcia, that police officers will be going through retraining as a result to ensure that
Well,
doesn't happen.
The policies are always made available to the officers, and obviously we will continue if there are any major changes within our policies. Like I said, we have had these policies in place for some time now, and then the draft policy, there are some changes, but where we're adding, so the important thing to note is that we're also going to add the duty to intervene. So as they have talked about, Governor Lamont has talked about the duty to intervene. So if an officer sees something that is wrong, that they have a duty to intervene and report it, and we will hold officers accountable for that.
Mhm. Exactly.
Any other commissioners, questions, comments?
I just have a question. I'm a little confused. So, Assistant Chief, what you're talking about now is part of the communication that's going to take place with the Ramsey report stuff, or is this with the city council, or am I mixing two things together right now?
Yes, so what, tomorrow we'll be doing a presentation on the resolution that the city council proposed and the 9 points that Chief Ramsey brought about during his presentation last week. We will talk about the areas that he brought forward and how we have already implemented or how we're working forward to implementing. The changes that we're talking about now, we just wanted to bring about that some of those have already been there. We are drafting, like I said, some of the newer, the duty to intervene, we're gonna put that into the policy. And we also wanted to let you know that the request as a transparency tool was to be able to add the policies to our portal or to the city's website. We want to make sure, and we are going to be in compliance definitely with the new executive orders that are being in place for sure.
Okay. And I have what might sound like a stupid question, but wasn't there always a duty to intervene? I mean, it almost sounds redundant.
We have, but like I said, we're bringing it up and forward in now the use of force policy. Yes, we have the duty, if something is illegal, unethical, or immoral, as a sworn member of this police department, you have a duty and a responsibility to come forward.
Absolutely. In all the years that we've been together, I've been here for 37 years. I never placed anyone in a chokehold or stepped on anybody's neck. That is something that I never experienced here at the Bridgeport Police Department. I've been here for 37 years.
Right. I guess the bigger challenge is, and I just think it's interesting, and I guess it's good that they're pointing it out that there's this duty. But I guess I always thought there should have been, or there was a duty to do that. It's just for some reason.
There is.
We're just making it clear.
And it really hasn't been done consistently and done well. And I feel like not necessarily all the time, but a lot of the times, even the situation I was in years ago before I became a police commissioner, there was a situation that took place with me where officers simply, when they saw what was going on, they didn't like it, but they didn't stop it, walked away and try to act like they didn't want to have anything to do with it, as opposed to intervening and saying, hey, come on, this is not the right thing. Let's walk away from this situation. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm concerned about, because I feel like it's always should have been a thing. The fact that they're bringing it up now, saying, I guess
it always has been. I'm not saying that it hasn't been. It always has been. We're just adding it in additional place within the policy. And as we hold the officers accountable, We hold our officers accountable through the process, which obviously you guys are aware of, which is our citizens complaint process. Understanding that if there are officers involved in a situation and a person, a complainant, lists all the officers present, or even if they said there were officers there that we didn't know, we couldn't identify, the Office of Internal Affairs has always made every measure to identify the persons present, the officers present, and interview them as well. So it is, like I said, it's just that it wasn't in this specific policy at the time. So it's almost like a reiteration of what has been said in the past.
Right, and I agree with you 100%. I guess my bigger question is, how do we go about making sure it's actually taking place? Because even when we look at some of the incidents that we as the police commission have had to officiate over or whatever, we've seen situation where clearly one or more of the officers should have stepped in to avoid whatever happened in that particular incident, and would have, saved us a lot of time and energy and maybe even money as far as the city is concerned for failure. I mean, I get it. You don't want to step on your officer's toes, whatever the scenario is, but just making sure we actually follow through and do this as opposed
Well,
to
you know that we do have in place, obviously, supervisor accountability, right? And we do have checks and balance. We have investigative bodies as well, and we have you guys as well, right? So it is always a checks and balance and training. Obviously this will go out for training as well, go out to all of the officers, and the officers are aware of policies that have gone out to them, and they are required to review and follow up and sign off on them. So it is about accountability.
But no, I think that's good. And I was remiss in saying that, but I guess kind of a retraining, as you seem to be suggesting, that officers get it. They'd understand that, hey, this is what it means to intervene. And you have this new duty, or this duty that was there before that, apparently needs to be clarified for whatever reason. But I like the fact that you mentioned retraining and people, actually having this conversation about what that means to intervene. You know what I mean?
And I think yes, absolutely. And I believe that one of the important things too is that also by us, in efforts of being transparent, putting the policies online, that the public now knows, right, what we are looking at and what we are held to. And so the public are our eyes and ears too, as well as our officers, and the commissioners. So it's a joint effort. And like I said, it's not something that wasn't in effect in the past. We're just reiterating what is known and what we should be doing.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner Farrell?
Thank you.
No.
Well, for the record, Commissioner Farrell is in fact present. Is Commissioner Diaz on with us? Evidently he couldn't make it. Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I'm on. Hello.
There he is. Oh,
I'm here.
okay.
I've been listening. I guess I am here. Hector Diaz.
Okay. All righty. Any questions, Commissioner Diaz, to the chief or the assistant chief for that matter?
No, I caught it. I was really concerned with kind of the same things that Commissioner Farrell brought up.
Mhm.
I'm glad to see that they are doing or have continued to be doing all the right things. And I mean, it's a hard time. It's a trying time. And as long as we stick together and keep doing what we're doing, I think we'll be okay. Bridgeport as a whole, I think we are a blessed city in that our police officers are strong and really personable to the people in the city.
Thank you. I just a quick statement. I'd like to commend the members of the department for the last couple of weeks who've showed restraint and respect when it comes to the various demonstrations and protests that have taken place. Also, the protesters, for that matter, deserve credit for their respect and in restraint when needed. We've had several demonstrations in the city, and by and large, they've gone off extremely well and without incident. And I think congratulations need to be spread all around for that. Like Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Farrow did bring up a lot of points and a lot of good questions. And one I'd like to throw out to the chief and the assistant chief. Has there been any policy when officers are working details that involve some of these demonstrations, or anything specific that you've been instructing the officers that are working these events?
We do have policies in place. We always remind our officers that professionalism is of the utmost, that we have to make certain that we understand, that we hear the community and why this is happening. But we do have policies in place regarding crowd control. We are conducting operations plans. We're advising them at roll calls. They're doing after action reports. So we are making sure that the officers understand what their responsibilities are. And we also commend them for everything that they have gone through, and their professionalism and obviously the restraint. So yes, we have.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I was just concerned about you mentioned that the policies are going to be up on the website. That means that the old one is not up there just yet. So as they renew them and modify them and update them, they will be posting those in particular, or all of them?
So we have 21 policies up online. And as the drafts go up, right, because we are allowing the community and the public to voice an opinion, and we are going to look at the recommendations made to see if we can effectuate them within our policies, remembering that our policies, we are looking forward and we're working towards, Lieutenant Cotto has been working very hard on the accreditation of the city. We are CLES certified, and we are the first largest agency that is CLES certified, which is statewide. But yes, we are posting the drafts and the policies online. Drafts, obviously, you will have a certain amount of days to input, to try to put an input or something that you would like us to address. And then, like I said, we will review and see if we would be able to put it within the policy, implement it within the policy. And obviously, then it goes before the board for review as well.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something just quickly, Commissioner Roach? This one.
Absolutely.
No, I want to reiterate what Commissioner Roach and Commissioner D saying. I think historically, we've shown restraint. Our police officers have shown restraints in these protest situations. We've had a few hiccups here or there, but our community has been very good to us in terms of how they even deal with their protest and everything else. I mean, we've not experienced things such as New Haven and some of these other places where things have really gotten out of control. And quite frankly, they've been good to us as commissioners as well. They don't always agree with us, but they're not disrespectful and nasty and harmful generally. So, I mean, we've got to be grateful for that. So I just wanted to point that out.
Our community in Bridgeport has been phenomenal as well. You are 100% correct with that.
Commissioners, anything else? No. Chief, Assistant Chief, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And
Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
You too, Session Chief. Yeah.
next item on the agenda is 3B. That's the report from the union. We have the new union president with us. That would be a question.
Yes, good evening.
Evening.
Okay. Are you on, Sergeant? There you go.
Yes, I am. How are you?
Good. You have the floor, Sergeant.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Most of you already know me. Sergeant Brad Seeley. I've been with the department going on 19 years this June. I just wanted to, in listening to everyone, our officers, in my opinion, have done an amazing job at dealing with the things they've dealt with. Going back to COVID-19, I think, the world, I think our communities were caught by surprise. And despite the circumstances that these officers faced, so many different things that they had to deal with on a day-to-day basis that, we're not generally trained to do. We're not trained to, be wearing this type of protective gear. They did it. All kinds of issues that happen as a result of COVID-19, but they stuck through it. And I might add that, there was a time where the chiefs had to make a call. We had officers go almost 2 months without taking any time off, except for emergency time, things like that. Our officers were here, they were at work, they came to work every day. We had some issues with the COVID-19. We had some exposures. We had other issues, where people had exposures even at home. It was very stressful for our men and women to deal with that, but they got through it, and I'm confident, that they'll continue to get through it. In regards to everything that's going on, around the nation and here, we have, in my opinion, excellent training. It's up-to-date training. The state of Connecticut has very high standards when it comes to use of force and its training. Our officers are getting that training, as you've heard from the chiefs already. I meet with the chiefs basically on a weekly basis, and I address numerous issues with them. And at this point, we don't always get everything we want, but we've worked together thus far in trying to address a lot of issues. So, I just wanted to come on tonight, introduce myself again. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other here in the future. I want to be involved in the commissioner meetings. I'd like the union to have a voice, and we'd like to hear from you also. That's really all I have for this evening.
Brad, I want to thank you, and I know you got a tough job. I've been there, so good luck with it.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Appreciate it.
Any questions for Sergeant Seeley?
Sergeant Seeley, are you taking the place of Sergeant Paris at our meetings?
Yeah, Sergeant Paris retired in late March, actually it was late April. So I am taking his position until the fall.
Okay, great. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Sergeant.
We won't be going into executive session tonight, so we will not be hearing the internal affairs report, but I believe the commissioners have all received a copy of the report. We can review and bring up any questions that we're anticipating to be able to meet at least semi-regular fashion in July, depending how things go. So The clerk would be next. Turn it over to Lieutenant O'Donnell.
Good
Lieutenant?
evening, Commissioners. Nice to see you all again. It's nice to be back. My first business is just noticing 3 internal affairs cases of sustained charges that were brought to my office in March. So I'm noticing OIA case number 18I-151, 18I-174, 17I-206. At this point, I will now be noticing, sending the reports to you and to the union and the officers involved, and at a future date, we will be scheduling these for a Bureau's hearing. The other report I'd like to update you on is that we are still continuing 17I-200, and we have 2 police officers and 2 CDOs that still will be going through the hearing process, and I am working on a future location and time, and I will get back to you shortly regarding scheduling those meetings. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
No, this case has dragged on long enough. We're hoping to
Well,
deal with it.
agreed. I think we'll be in a position to wrap things up very shortly. Thank you, Lieutenant.
I believe that the remaining cases or the remaining officers can all be done in one meeting, and we will do my best to facilitate the closure of this case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under, oh, I'm sorry, any questions? Nope. Under new business, we have a request from Reverend Manuel Garcia to address the board regarding the move of the bus stop to Soundview Avenue. First of all, Reverend, thank you very much for your patience with this. Commissioners, on under 9A Roman numeral 17 would be the installation of a bus stop with no parking stop zone westbound on Soundview approach at Yarmouth Drive, just so we know what we're discussing here. And with that, Reverend, again, thank you for your patience, and please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioners and Bridgeport Police Department. As you well know, everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. As you well know, that there was a request to move the bus stop from Ryan Street to Soundview Avenue. And first of all, I'm Reverend Manuel Garcia, Vice President of Third Stone Ridge Co-op. Third Stone Ridge Co-op is one of the streets that abuts this area that they're considering moving the bus stop. I've been a resident here for 44 years. The reason we're opposed to the change on the Ryan Street is presently the bus stops on Ryan stops right on Ryan Street, which is right around the corner from Soundview Avenue. The bus goes down Soundview Avenue westerly, and it takes a left-hand turn, then it stops on Ryan Street. The bus actually stops about midway on Ryan Street. Where the bus stops presently, people do not park. There's actually nobody that parks on that street. In the 44 years I've been there, no one parks on that street because there's a stone wall there, and it's not easy for anybody to get to their co-ops in that area. So it's a good place for the bus to stop. So it doesn't interfere with anybody. It doesn't interfere with the flow of traffic. Now, if you change the bus stop to Soundview Avenue, there's that area, that 4 corners of Soundview Avenue. If you change it to before they turn the left onto Ryan Street, you create a hazard in a couple of ways. One, I don't know if you're familiar with Hallen School, which is right up on the top of Soundview, right all on the other side of Reservoir. Those children, when they get out of school, since there's not very many sidewalks, they walk down the middle of the street, lots of them. If you take a bus from a still position and go into traffic, there's a better chance of a child getting hit by a bus. Now, if you're familiar with I don't have a map in front of me, but if you're familiar with the 4 corners, Ryan Street is to the left and down the hill. Most of the children lived in 2nd, 3rd Stone Ridge, and some may live in 1st Stone Ridge, but you know, it's clear of the path of the bus. It would be unsafe to change that bus to that corner. Next issue is they're asking to take 50 feet on Soundview Avenue, which is where the Third Stone Ridge Co-op is, the residents face that street and that's where they park. So now you're asking them to find another parking area. And there's a fire hydrant there, which automatically you lose 10 feet from the corner of Soundview Avenue up. You've already lost 10 feet of parking spots. So now they're proposing to lose another 40 feet of parking space from there. I think where the bus stop now is, I mean, personally, I think it's a safer place to be than just before the intersection, because the bus is coming down west on Soundview, makes a turn, and then it stops. Any children that are coming down the street, or even the traffic coming down the street, the bus is already past the intersection. Instead of coming from a standstill position and into traffic, into an intersection, I think this wasn't well thought out. I think it needs either a lot more discussion. I don't know what the reasoning is, because I don't have it in my paperwork, the reasoning for them wanting to change it. But presently, where the bus stops now, I think it's the safest place for those buses to stop.
Yeah, Reverend, we don't actually have in our paperwork, other than that the request came from the GBT. We don't have a much of an explanation ourselves. I do have are you aware of any change in the route? Is the bus still planning?
It still has to
be going on Ryan.
It comes down
There's no change
Soundview
in the
into
route.
Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah, the route hasn't changed, because their proposal is to change it from Soundview to Ryan, and that's exactly where the bus turns. So if you do it before Ryan, then you have to stop on Soundview, pull up to the stop sign, then go over and go to Ryan. Right now, the bus just takes a left-hand turn and stops on Ryan. So the route of the bus hasn't changed at all. Plus the northbound side of the bus stop is still on Ryan Street. So they're only proposing changing the southbound side. So it really doesn't make sense. Soundview Avenue has cars on both ends. Ryan Street does not. Ryan Street is basically like a dead valley. There's really no cars parked there. Any time of day you go, day or night, you never see any cars on Ryan Street. Ryan heads into Platt Street, which is a major road.
Oh, you did mention the parking, and you're losing 4 or 5 spots by making a change, and whereas there was no parking to lose to begin with.
Right.
No, I know that's important up there. And you're and I'm sorry, which would you say Stone Ridge 3?
Yeah, I'm the vice president of Stone Ridge 3, and I spoke with Steve Nelson, who's the president of Stone Ridge 2, and he says, I don't understand why they want to move it either, because Stone Ridge 3 abuts that corner, and Stone Ridge 2, they're kitty corner from each other. So any change that is made affects both go-ups.
Okay. Any other commissioners have questions?
I just want to say that I'm not quite sure if the other commissioners are familiar with the area, but I personally had to go see for myself. And it really, I mean, it's interesting that if they want to create change from the middle of Ryan Street to the corner of Soundview Avenue, there should be a reason behind that. And number one, we don't know what that reason is. And secondly, I mean, I took pictures. I wish I could display them, but on Soundview, it's a 2-way street and there's parking on both sides. And yes, they will have to probably take away 3 to 4 parking spaces, including the fire hydrant in the corner. But that's where the bus stop is going to stop versus taking a left and stopping in the middle of a street where there is no parking on both sides of the street, and it's going down the hill.
And unless there's some valid reason out there that we can't fathom for whatever reason, I don't think this board would be in a position to certainly to approve the request from GBT. Reverend, I think the board will make a motion shortly, I'm sure, either to table the item to see if there is some reasoning that we're not aware of that we'd like you and other members of your group to be part of that conversation, maybe. But either that or we can move to deny and take it off the table.
Thank you. I appreciate your consideration.
Any thoughts, commissioners? We can, we in deference to Reverend Garcia, we can go out of order on the agenda and address this item now.
For me, can I speak?
Does a motion have to be made?
It doesn't we don't need a motion necessarily now, just so we have the opportunity to do that if you'd like.
Okay.
I want to discuss before we make a motion, but I'll defer to Dr. Quarles.
No, I was just wanting to say that I am familiar with that area and I would like to understand why they would move it because they would be losing space over there. I'm very familiar with over there. I don't know why they want to move it.
On the surface, it really doesn't make any sense. I agree.
Right, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner Farrell, if you'd like to comment on this, my only suggestion would be a motion to table and.
Well, that's my suggestion because I mean, I agree with Commissioner Quarles and the Reverend and seemingly most everyone else on this call, but I have no clue why they even made that suggestion at all. So I feel like we need to have the information.
Okay.
But I agree with Commissioner Quarles and the Reverend.
Okay. Is that the form of a motion to table, Commissioner Farrell?
I'll second.
It's been made and seconded. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is table. Reverend, please keep in touch. I'm sure the lieutenant will be reaching out to you, or feel free to contact her, and we'll see if we can find out where the GBT is coming from, and try to figure this out if there's anything that needs to be figured out. Otherwise, next month we'll be voting, I'm sure, in your favor.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, getting back. Nothing else under new business, nothing under old business, no correspondence to report, letters of appreciation, or even widow pensions. We do have quite a few items, traffic matters that we certainly need to address. It's backed up. There's several handicap parking requests that have, in some cases, have been waiting very patiently. But those items 9A, Roman numeral 1 through Roman numeral 13, they've all have successfully indicated that there is no off-street parking available to them. And that being the matter, I would like to entertain a motion to combine those items 9A, Roman numeral 1 through 13, and to approve in the same motion.
So be.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Aye.
All right. Those matters have been approved. Moving to the next. Well, we have a school crosswalk marking. And I know the commissioners had a chance to actually look at these ahead of time. And I will ask, I know there's been the Roman numeral 17 was repeated twice. I believe that should have been 22 and 23. Now I'm just looking at it.
Yeah. After you get after 18, they start to repeat.
18 there. So yeah, I think that though the V is supposed to be an X in those cases. Sorry about that, Lieutenant, not to be nitpicking, but we do have which 17, we've already tabled that. And are there any questions regarding the others? If the folks had a chance to go over it. I'm familiar with a couple of the requests. The last, which would, on the bottom of the page, if anybody has any questions on that. That was actually something that the board approved about 4 years ago. And well, there was an issue. The bus stop was located on the, let's see, they located it on Cherry Street, which runs along the side of the highway. And they had resident parking on Howard Avenue. What they needed to do was to switch the bus stop to Howard Avenue, only because of the trucks along Cherry Street made it slightly dangerous when the kids were getting dropped off, especially in the morning. And also, we approved the parking plan that allowed for parking on both sides of the street on Railroad Avenue between Hancock and Howard, and the lines weren't put in properly. And that's something I spoke with the traffic engineer on, and that's also needs to be corrected, but he's aware of that. On their dime, by the way. Any other questions on the items, with the exception of the bus stop on Soundview issue?
Sir.
If there isn't, if we're good with everything, I'd entertain a motion to combine those items and to approve the request of the city traffic engineer to approve them. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, that passes. Oh, items under 9B. The first four are requests for handicap parking as well. The city traffic engineer, in his report, as you may have read, says that there is off-street parking available in form of a private driveway at all four of these addresses. But I spoke with Lieutenant O'Donnell, has indicated that that's not the case, that in all four cases, these residents don't have access to off-street parking. Is that correct, Lieutenant?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you. That being the case, unless there's any questions or issues, I'd like to deal with those first items initially. And if there's the motion would be if the commissioners wanted to grant the handicap parking, there would be, the motion would be to deny the request of the city traffic engineer and ultimately approve those four requests. If that makes sense.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to deny the request of the engineer in B 1 through 4.
Okay, so a motion to combine
Is
and
yeah.
deny the first four items,
Mhm.
which actually in effect granting permission for handicap parking signs at those addresses. Okay, that motion's been made, I believe successfully, and it's been seconded. Any questions on the motion? I'm sorry.
I do have a question. I guess, like with the bus stop scenario, I mean, I understand why you wouldn't put one there, but I don't know why you would. And it's the same situation here. Like, given the fact that Lieutenant O'Donnell said that these people don't have permission to park in the parking lot or driveway or whatever it is, why did the engineer still deny the or try to deny the parking?
In some cases, I'm sorry, Lieutenant, you can answer. I have a response also, but please go ahead.
Sure. I believe he did not review the application thoroughly to see that when the question was asked, do they have access to the driveway? It's denied, or there's no access to the driveway. And because of their, situation, they need, parking right in front of the street. So I believe it was on the part of the traffic engineer. We've had this situation in the past, Commissioner Farrow. So instead of sending out letters, again to the applicant, asking them to get a letter from the landlord saying they cannot park in the driveway, because that could take up to 6 months or longer, for, approval.
Yeah, that was just my curiosity. I didn't know if he had some specific reason. And I have to wonder about some of these landlords, whether or not they have a certain amount of duty to accommodate some of these people. Because I look at these lists, I mean, how long before none of us will be able to park anywhere because we'll have handicap signs all over the street. But
Have you, and I'm sorry, Commissioner, but Lieutenant, has there been any contact with the 4 applicants that in question here?
No, I have not, gone to that next process of, but in the application, it clearly states, and the traffic engineer received this application as well as a letter stating that they are denied access, to the driveway because the landlord is not allowing that. So because of that, they're requesting to have a handicap space placed in front of, their residence.
So we're taking them at their word.
Yes, we are. Well, there is an application with the signature of the person from Office of Persons with Disability supporting it.
Okay. Okay, Commissioners, any other questions? Doctor, I think you need to unmute. Try it again.
There it is.
There
I'm
you go.
sorry. Are any of these places any scattered housing, public housing? Do you know?
I do not know, ma'am. No, I believe they're residents.
Yeah, because sometimes they have scattered housing. I want to make sure if it was public housing or not. I'm going to take the parking away from them. Okay.
Commissioners, anything else?
Well, that's a good question. We don't know, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know. Does that mean you would rather have a table
Maybe-
to find out?
I mean,
What would, if it happened to be scattered housing, and we had a resident that was legitimately handicapped that needed a handicap parking sign. Is there, and I'm sorry, Dr. Quarles, maybe I'm missing it.
no, maybe I'm missing it because what I'm saying is there's the engineers are saying not to approve, right? So is there parking for them not to approve? Well, why do they want the parking? That's the thing. That's my question. Why do they want the parking? You're not going to approve, but why do they want it?
So that's a good question. Do all these people been approved that they're handicapped?
Right.
Yes.
They can't apply unless they are.
Okay.
In the application, commissioners, they do have to supply the handicap permit from the state of Connecticut, which is attached to the application, as well as a valid driver's license.
Okay.
Maybe a thought, if we are going to move ahead, the motion's been made and seconded, and if we are going to move ahead, if we'd like to add a stipulation that provided that these addresses aren't owned by public housing as in scattered site form, we will deny the city traffic engineer's recommendation and approve those signs. Would you like to make an amendment to your motion if that works for you, Commissioner Cruz?
Sure. Want me to repeat it?
I think, Lieutenant, do you have it, the motion as amended?
Yes, I do. I just need Commissioner Cruz that brought the motion. Who seconded?
And Commissioner, I'm sorry, who did second it? And it would need to be seconded as amended.
Second it as amended. I could do second it.
Okay.
Kumanado already did.
Oh, Kumanado here. Kumanado did already? Okay, great.
All right. And he seconded as amended. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve based on, or I'm sorry, to deny the request of the city traffic engineer and approve those 4 requests with the provision that it be determined that these are private residences and not owned by the housing department. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thanks for that. Okay. Let's see, the remaining items, installation of multi-way stop on Barnum and Hallett. The next item 6 also has to do with Barnum and Hallett. One is requesting a multi-way stop. The other one is requesting a traffic control. The city engineer says his recommendation is no to both of them. I did have a conversation with Council President Heidi Nieves, who is also represents that district. It's one of the council people over there. And her concern, which, you know, is a valid concern, is that you have a stretch of Barnum Avenue now that that goes from East Main Street to
View probably.
yeah, and without a stop sign or a traffic light. So although, you know, the report comes back and it says that there's not enough accidents to justify it, and there's not not enough traffic at these intersections to justify it. You know, I know cars are flying down there, so we need to take a look at it. So I did tell her I would ask this to be tabled and look into, you know, different possibilities. One of them may even be a speed hump if we move forward with those.
Is this Commissioner Roach? Is this the one that Maria?
Commissioner?
Yes, Maria Valle and Heidi. I think Maria Valle was the one who filed it, and I was on the phone. I was on the phone with Heidi on a couple other items, and I brought this up today.
Commissioner Roach? I can you?
Yep, Commissioner Diaz.
Oh.
Yes.
If I'm not in the mornings, they stop. They have crossing at that block right on Barnum and Hallett. Now, I don't think that there's any. I think Barnum Avenue in itself doesn't have any stop signs down that route. The streets do. There is one on Pembroke, and they're on both sides. On Pembroke, when you come to the corner, there's a stop sign.
Okay.
On the next corner, I think there may be a stop sign. On the Barnum side, it's true. There isn't one until you get to Seaview Avenue. But in the morning, they do have crossing guards that are respected there. I've been through there when they cross over to go to the school, I guess, Watersville or is that Barnum School over there? So there is crossing guards. I could see why they might want a stop sign.
Okay.
But I think that's what the consideration was. So I think the concern was kids, but in the evening, it's just a raceway down there, and I don't know where you would stop or what you would be stopping for in the evening, but certainly during the day when the kids are out, it could be dangerous. And I know he said there's not a lot of accidents over there, but this is a difficult one because, like I said, this in the evening there's really nothing there. That place is a ghost town.
In the morning, and in the afternoons when they get out.
Right. So I agree that we maybe should table it. I know we've been tabling it forever.
It's worth a look, and my own personal opinion is we put up stop signs in the past where they're not, you know, the amount of traffic or the lack of accidents or whatever wouldn't warrant one, but when there's speeding going on in a long stretch of road resulting in speeding, if nothing else, it takes care of that, or at least curb.
Commissioner, I think also the, if I'm not mistaken, there's a truck driving school there also that uses that, or the school bus driving
Okay.
school
Yeah.
that uses that area also, and it might be wise to have a stop sign just for that reason, if nothing else.
Well, one other suggestion, if we feel comfortable with the stop sign, we can, listen, stop signs are going to be backed up. It's not going to happen in the next 30 days before we meet again. We can move to approve the stop sign and deny the request and approve the stop sign. And I'm sure we'll have 30 days if somebody, whether it's a city traffic engineer or someone else out there, proves us wrong, or we find a better solution, we can rescind that at our next commission meeting. But this will at least, get the ball rolling. If that's just an idea or suggestion. If everybody,
Well, I agree. I think you should get the ball rolling. It's almost been a year or
Yeah.
more
okay.
with this, and we need a stop sign over there. If you go by late night, you don't want anyone to crash it. So stop sign, definitely a stop sign. If anything, it should be a stop sign over there.
Is that a motion, Dr. Quarles?
Yes, it is a motion.
Okay. All right.
I'll second.
And the motion's made and seconded. Just for clarification, the motion is to deny the request of the city traffic engineer's office and move to approve a multi-way stop sign at Barnum Avenue and Howard Street. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
I just had a question though, because I'm trying to figure out.
I'm sorry, that's old business now.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out between 5 and 6. So are we approving one and denying the other one, or what are we?
Oh, we approved 5.
And table the other?
Let's table the other just in case that turns out to be our option. That's my suggestion anyway. Okay. Item number 6. Is there a motion? That's the installation of a traffic control sign.
So I motion that we table?
Motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion's tabled. Thanks, Commissioner Farrow. Next item does not require any action because we're talking about East Main Street, which is a state road, if I'm correct, I believe. Lieutenant, that's the case there? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see, the other items, I know the installation of a mid-block crosswalk. There's a line of sight issue because it is on a curve in the road. And if there was a crosswalk there, it could actually be a danger.
Definitely.
It's not the location. So, I mean, I think we'd all agree on that one. The installation of a school zone at Reed School. They were looking for a school zone. I think the request was on Lindley Street. The school itself is on Reed Street, or Ezra Street, excuse me. Reed School's on Ezra Street in the corner of Harley Avenue. So that was recommended or requested to be denied. And the last item is the co-ops on Fairfield Avenue and Brewster Street. They wanted the street maintenance sign. I guess a few of them removed, but they involve street cleaning, and street cleaning is still in effect. So that request was, or the request from the city traffic engineers to deny that as well, and leave the signs up because there is street cleaning.
Could you go to 10 back to 10 real quick? The school zone. Reed
Yes.
School, Ezra and Holly. They denied it. Why? It's a zone. That's
Well,
over there.
The reason it was denied, and I'm sorry, I'll get back. It's what item is that? 10.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually.
I mean, you're talking about zone. I mean,
Yeah,
you
okay.
can't even turn down Reed Street. I mean, the
Reed School is located,
Right.
both roads are local residential streets with 25-mile-an-hour posted speed limits. Engineering department could review the requested school zone should be installed based on our review. The proposed school zone is not recommended because it does not meet the requirements, which indicate that school zone should be established adjacent to the school. Lindley is a block, and Lindley is a block away from the school, but
All right, love you.
well, it can go either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's busy over there. I don't care what time of day you go over there. On that corner, right on Hawley and Ezra. It needs people to know that there's a school over there.
Definitely busy.
Reason
With an auto mechanic right in the corner over there. Too.
you don't know there's a school there.
Okay. What is your pleasure? We need some kind of,
Motion to deny.
yeah, okay, we're gonna motion tonight. Do we have, a location?
Motion to deny school zone at Reed, School Ezra Street and Hawley Avenue.
The motion is to deny the request of the city traffic engineer. And let's see, installation school zone,
At Reed School,
Ezra in Hawley Avenue or at Lindley's. I think the request is to put it at Lindley Street.
it should be at Lindley Street.
At Lindley Street, close to Hawley Avenue?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Aye.
Number 10 is denied. We have 3 items left on the agenda to act on. Installation parking striping on Riverview Drive, installation of, installation of mid-block crosswalk, which we discussed, and the removal of a street maintenance signs. I believe that should be plural. Unless there's any discussion or concerns, I'll call for a motion on those last 3 items.
Is it 3 items or 4 items?
I believe we're looking at 3 remaining.
8, 9, and 11.
That's correct.
Okay.
8, 9, and 11.
Are you making a motion, Commissioner Farrell?
Nobody has to make the motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the city engineer's request that we not approve numbers 8, 9, and 11.
Okay.
I guess that's it. 9B, 8, 9, and 11.
Okay.
Doesn't
Okay.
vote,
On the floor, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion's carried. Folks, do you have anything else?
No, thank you, Officer.
Yeah, thanks for setting this up.
Sergeant Rosen.
Thanks for everybody. Yeah, we actually had a full complement of commissioners. Very impressive. Meanwhile, unless there's anything further, let's stay in touch and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion's been made by several and seconded by several. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Bye, everybody. Be
Thank
safe.
you, everybody. Everybody stay safe. Talk soon, okay?
Oh, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Lieutenant.
Adele. Yeah.
Get Maddie out of here.
You're done.
You can't.
Yeah.
Logan Rice.
I'm just gonna end it for everybody.
Okay.